Part 1. My best friend has been texting my boyfriend this whole time. Hi Reddit. Throwaway because my main account has too many mutuals and honestly, I don't need this spilling into my real life. I don't even know where to start because this whole situation feels like I'm living inside some badly written Netflix drama. But I also can't keep this bottled up anymore. I need to let it out somewhere before my brain combusts. So, let me rewind a bit. I, 27F, have been dating my boyfriend, let's call him Ethan, 29M, for almost 3 years. We met at a friend's barbecue. He made me laugh so hard with some stupid impression of Shrek ordering Starbucks, and it just stuck. He's one of those people who feels like sunshine, not in a cheesy Instagram quote way, but in that real, grounding, I can breathe when I'm around you way. My best friend, Clara, 26F, has been in my life since college. We lived together for 2 years, survived the trauma of communal bathrooms, 3 a.m. study sessions, and one truly horrifying mouse infestation in our crappy apartment. She's always been the person I'd text about literally everything. Outfit choices, job drama, the dumb TikTok I can't stop laughing at. I considered her family. Honestly, she was like my platonic soulmate. Naturally, when Ethan and I got serious, Clara was the first person I introduced him to. She was supportive, told me she liked him, even joked that finally you picked a guy who isn't a walking red flag. For context, my dating history before Ethan was bleak. Like, man who thinks cryptocurrency counts as a personality bleak. The three of us ended up hanging out a lot. Game nights, double dates with her situationships, late-night fast food runs. Everything seemed so normal. Honestly, I was just grateful my boyfriend and my best friend got along. That's supposed to be the dream, right? Your partner and your BFF actually liking each other? But lately, things started feeling off. The first red flag that I ignored like an idiot. It started small. A few months ago, I noticed Clara laughing at something on her phone when we were all together. Nothing unusual, we all scroll, we all send memes. But she'd laugh, glance at Ethan, and then they'd share this quick look. Like an inside joke. At first, I brushed it off. I figured maybe Ethan had sent her a TikTok, or maybe they were just joking about something from earlier that I'd forgotten. I didn't want to be that girlfriend who polices every glance. But then it kept happening. Another night, Ethan was driving us to get tacos, and Clara's phone buzzed. She looked at it, smiled, and said, "Oh my God, you're ridiculous." She was looking at Ethan when she said it. I was in the back seat. I asked, half joking, "What did he do now?" She kind of froze for a second, then quickly said, "Oh, it's just this group chat. Don't worry about it." That should have been my second clue. The birthday incident. Fast forward to my birthday. Ethan planned this cute little dinner with a few close friends, including Clara. He made reservations at this restaurant I'd been wanting to try for months, and the night was honestly perfect. Or at least I thought it was. When the cake came out, Clara jumped up and said, "I'll take the pictures." Totally normal best friend move. Except later, when I went through the photos she sent me, I noticed something strange. There were way more candid shots of Ethan than of me. Like a lot. Him laughing, him talking, him cutting into a steak. Out of maybe 30 photos, only 8 were actually of me, and in half of those I looked like a gremlin mid-blink. I laughed it off to myself. Classic Clara, she's always been the artsy candid photo type, but deep down it made me uneasy. The text message slip. The real turning point came 2 weeks ago. Ethan and I were watching Netflix on his couch, and he left his phone on the coffee table when he went to grab snacks. His screen lit up with a notification. I wasn't snooping, I swear, but the message just popped up. And it was from Clara. It said, "Don't forget what you promised me, winking face." My stomach dropped. I tried to play it cool when he came back, but the rest of the night, I could barely focus on the show. He didn't mention anything about the message. I didn't ask. I convinced myself it was probably about something harmless. Maybe she wanted him to help pick up decorations for her brother's engagement party? Maybe she guilt-tripped him into running an errand? But that winky face haunted me. Confrontation attempt number 1. The next day, I casually asked Clara what she and Ethan had been talking about lately. She immediately said, "Oh, not much, just the usual." Why? Her tone was light, but her eyes flickered for a split second. That flicker told me she was lying. I didn't push further, though. Again, I didn't want to seem paranoid. I kept telling myself, they're my two favorite people. Of course they're going to text sometimes. That's normal. Except why the secrecy? Why did it feel like I was on the outside of some private joke? The spiral. For the next week, I couldn't stop noticing every little thing. The way Ethan would sometimes smile at his phone and then quickly put it down when I walked into the room. How Clara started taking longer to respond to my texts, but would instantly reply if Ethan messaged her in our group chat. The fact that she suddenly had all these oddly specific opinions about Ethan's favorite shows, like she'd been having whole side conversations with him about them. I started losing sleep. My brain would not shut up. I felt like I was going crazy. So, I did something I'm not proud of. The snooping. Last Friday, Ethan left his phone on the nightstand while he took a shower. I stared at it for a solid 5 minutes, battling myself. Finally, I cracked. I know it was wrong. I know it was a breach of trust. But at that point, my paranoia was eating me alive. I opened his messages. And there it was. A whole thread with Clara. At first, it seemed harmless enough. Memes, inside jokes, random chit-chat. Stuff you'd expect from friends. But the deeper I scrolled, the worse it got. Flirty comments. Late night you up? Messages. Her telling him he looked hot at the gym. Him saying she was the only one who really gets his sense of humor. And then the kicker. A week before my birthday, she'd texted him. Can't wait to see you without her around winking face. And he replied.
Soon.
Promise. I don't even remember putting the phone down. My chest felt like it was caving in. My ears were ringing. I just sat there, staring at the wall, trying not to throw up. When Ethan came out of the shower, I pretended nothing was wrong.
I don't even know how.
I think I was in shock. I left a little later, told him I had work early. Now it's been 3 days. I haven't confronted either of them yet. I've been walking around like a ghost, barely eating, barely sleeping. Every time my phone buzzes, I want to throw it across the room. I keep asking myself, was any of it real? Did Clara ever actually care about me? Did Ethan? I don't know what to do. Should I confront them separately? Together? Should I break up with him immediately? Should I end my friendship with her? The betrayal feels so heavy I can barely breathe. And the worst part? A small, twisted part of me wants to believe there's some explanation. That maybe I misread everything. That maybe it's not what it looks like. But that promise, soon, promise, is burned into my brain. I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending. Part 2. My best friend has been texting my boyfriend this whole time. Hey Reddit. Back again with the sequel nobody asked for, but my nervous system demanded I write. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. Reading your messages made me feel a little less insane. A lot of you told me to trust my gut, to confront them, to remember that I'm not the one betraying anyone here. I've reread those comments like 100 times since posting.
So yeah.
Things escalated. Buckle up. The ghost mode phase. After finding those texts, I basically went into ghost mode. I didn't confront either of them right away. Part of me was terrified of the answers, and part of me wanted to gather more proof before I said anything. For 3 days, I acted like nothing was wrong. I hung out with Ethan. I answered Clara's texts, though way slower than usual. I went to work like a functioning adult. But inside, I was crumbling. I started noticing everything. Every little smirk Ethan made when his phone buzzed. Every haha Clara sent me that felt like filler. I became hyper-aware of how often she brought him up in conversation. It was like my entire life turned into a detective board with red string connecting every detail. I was exhausted. Advice from my sister. On day 4, I cracked and told my older sister, Maya, everything. Maya has always been my rock. She's the blunt, no bullshit type, who can smell lies a mile away. When I told her about the texts, she didn't even blink. She just said, So, why are you still with him? I stammered something about wanting to be sure, about maybe misunderstanding, about not wanting to throw away 3 years over something I saw on one screen. She shook her head and said, If you need more proof after that, you're not looking for proof. You're looking for permission to leave. That line hit me hard. Clara slips again. The very next day, Clara came over to hang out. We ordered takeout, watched some dumb reality show, and for a moment, it almost felt normal. Almost. Then she went to the bathroom, and her phone lit up on the couch beside me. I swear I wasn't even trying to snoop, but the preview popped up. It was Ethan. Ethan. Can't stop thinking about last night. I swear my vision blurred. Clara came back a minute later, all casual, sipping her soda. She must have noticed my face looked weird because she asked, "You okay?" I forced a smile and said, "Yeah, just tired." Inside, though, I was screaming. The plan. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. They weren't just flirting. Something happened. I decided I'd confront them, but not until I was ready. I wanted it on my terms. So I made a plan. Step 1. Invite them both over at the same time. Step 2. Sit them down. Step 3. Lay out what I know. Step 4. Watch them squirm. Was it dramatic? Absolutely. But at that point, I felt like I was starring in my own private horror movie. Might as well go full main character energy. The dinner from hell. Saturday night, I invited them both over under the guise of a movie and wine night. Ethan brought a bottle of red. Clara brought her fake-ass smile. We ordered pizza, made small talk, pretended like everything was normal. My hands were shaking under the table. Finally, halfway through the movie, I muted the TV and said, "We need to talk." Both of them looked at me, startled. Ethan, about what? Clara, is everything okay? I looked at them for a long second before saying, "I know you've been texting. A lot. Behind my back." Silence. Clara blinked rapidly. Ethan froze like someone had just unplugged his brain. The explosion. Ethan finally spoke. "Okay, yes, we've been talking. But it's not what you think." Classic. The line every cheater in every bad Lifetime movie uses. I asked, "Then what exactly is it?" Clara jumped in. "It's just friendly. We didn't want to bother you with every little thing, so sometimes we'd text directly. That's all." I laughed. Out loud. Probably a little unhinged. Really? So the winky faces? The can't wait to see you without her around? The can't stop thinking about last night? That's friendly. Clara's face went pale. Ethan muttered something like, "Okay, I can explain." And that's when I snapped. "Then explain.
Right now."
Both of you. Because from where I'm standing, my best friend and my boyfriend have been sneaking around behind my back and lying to my face. The room went dead quiet. Their excuses. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, looking guilty as hell. "Look, we crossed a line. But it wasn't serious." Clara cut in, voice trembling. "It just happened. We didn't mean for it to. We were hanging out once, and we had too much to drink, and..." I put my hand up. "Stop." I couldn't hear it. I physically couldn't let them say the words. My stomach already knew. I asked, "How long?" Neither answered. "How long?" I repeated, louder. Finally, Ethan whispered, "About 2 months."
2
months. The betrayal sinks in. I felt like someone had punched me straight in the chest. 2 months of lying. 2 months of her looking me in the eye while sneaking around with him. 2 months of me trusting them both. I stood up because I couldn't sit anymore. My whole body was shaking. "I can't even look at you two right now," I said. "You're both disgusting." Clara started crying. Actual tears. She reached for me and said, "Please, I didn't want to hurt you." I pulled back like her hand was poison. "You didn't want to hurt me? You're my best friend. You were supposed to protect me. And you..." I turned to Ethan. "You promised me forever. And this is what I get." Neither of them had anything useful to say. Just pathetic half-excuses. Kicking them out. I told them both to leave. Immediately. Ethan tried to linger, said we should talk about this later. I told him if he didn't walk out right now, I'd throw the wine bottle at his head. Not my proudest moment, but I meant it. Clara sobbed all the way to the door. Ethan muttered something like, "I'm sorry," before following her out. The second the door closed, I collapsed onto the floor and cried until I couldn't breathe. The aftermath so far. It's been 2 days since that night. I haven't heard from Ethan. Clara's texted me paragraphs. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please don't hate me. You're like my sister kind of crap. I haven't replied. I feel hollow, like someone scooped out my insides. Every memory from the last 3 years feels poison now. Every joke, every hug, every time I thought, wow, I'm so lucky. I keep replaying the night in my head, wondering if I could have prevented it somehow. But deep down I know this isn't my fault. I gave them both my trust, and they set it on fire.
The twist.
Here's the thing though. Yesterday, I was at my sister's place, crying into a pillow, when my phone buzzed. It was from an unknown number. The message said, "You deserve to know the whole story. Meet me tomorrow. A friend." I stared at it for an hour, trying to decide if it was some scam or prank. But something about it felt real. I texted back, "Who is this?" No answer. So now I'm sitting here, torn between curiosity and fear. What if it's someone who knows more? What if Ethan and Clara weren't telling me everything? And worse, what if this friend confirms my worst fear, that the betrayal goes even deeper than I thought? Part 3. My best friend has been texting my boyfriend this whole time. Hi Reddit. This is probably my last update. The last 2 posts blew up way more than I expected, and honestly, your support has been the only thing keeping me somewhat sane. So many of you told me to put myself first, to cut them both off, to remember that people who betray you once will do it again. I needed that reminder. When I left off, I just gotten a text from an unknown number saying, "You deserve to know the whole story. Meet me tomorrow." A friend. Well, I went. And what I found out still has me reeling. Meeting the friend. The next afternoon, I drove to the coffee shop the mystery texter suggested. My stomach was doing Olympic-level gymnastics the whole way. I half expected to get catfished or end up on some true crime podcast. But when I walked in, I froze. Sitting at a corner table was Lena. For context, Lena is an old coworker of Clara's. We'd all hung out a few times years ago, but I hadn't seen her in ages. She waved me over, looking nervous. "Hey," she said softly. "Thanks for coming." I sat down, confused. "What's going on? Why did you text me?" She took a deep breath. "Because you deserve to know what they've been doing." And I couldn't keep watching without saying something. The bombshell. Lena told me that a couple of months ago, she ran into Clara at a bar. Clara was tipsy and bragging. And what she bragged about? Hooking up with Ethan. Multiple times. According to Lena, Clara laughed about it. Said things like, "She has no idea. It's kind of thrilling sneaking around." I felt physically ill hearing that. But Lena wasn't done. She said she also overheard Clara saying it wasn't just about sex, that Ethan confided in her more than Opie ever could, and that she thought maybe he'd eventually leave me for her. Lena looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't know what you're going to do with this, but I couldn't stay quiet anymore. You don't deserve this." The collapse. When I got back to my car, I just sat there shaking. On some level, I already knew. The texts, the way they acted, the confrontation, it was all pointing here. But hearing that Clara actually bragged about it, that she thought sneaking behind my back was thrilling, that broke something in me. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a one-time drunken slip. It was intentional, deliberate, cruel. And the person I trusted most in the world was proud of it. The final showdown. I decided I needed closure. Not forgiveness, just closure. So that night, I texted Ethan and Clara separately, told them both to meet me at my apartment. Yes, I know, maybe it was messy, but I wanted them to see each other while I said what I needed to say. When they arrived, they both looked awkward as hell. Clara's eyes were puffy, like she'd been crying nonstop. Ethan wouldn't even make eye contact. I told them to sit. Then I said, "I talked to Lena today." Instant panic on Clara's face. Ethan frowned. What does she have to do with this? I didn't hold back. I told them everything Lena told me. How Clara bragged. How she thought he'd leave me for her. how she enjoyed the thrill of sneaking around. Clara immediately burst into tears, babbling, "That's not true." She twisted it. "I didn't mean it like that." I cut her off. "Save it. You had months to tell me the truth. Months. And instead, you laughed about betraying me. You're dead to me." Then I turned to Ethan. "And you? Do you love her?" He finally looked at me then, eyes red.
No.
It wasn't about love. It was just stupid. I don't even know why I did it. "Then why keep doing it for months?"
I asked.
He didn't answer. Because there wasn't an answer. Ending it. I stood up and said, "This is the last time either of you will ever be in my apartment. You both chose this. Don't contact me again." Clara sobbed harder, begging me not to throw away our friendship. Ethan tried to apologize again, saying he'd do anything to earn my trust back. I told them both, "You already threw it away. There's nothing left." And then I opened the door, watching them walk out together. My boyfriend of 3 years and my best friend of nearly a decade felt like ripping my own heart out. But at the same time, it was freeing, because for the first time in weeks, I wasn't waiting for answers. I wasn't living in suspicion. I knew the truth. Picking up the pieces. The last few days have been rough. I won't sugarcoat it. I've cried more than I thought was humanly possible. I keep cycling between rage, grief, and numbness. Sometimes I still reach for my phone to text Clara about something dumb before remembering she's not in my life anymore. That part hurts the most. But you know what? I also feel stronger than I expected. I blocked both of them on everything. I deleted old photos. I even ordered new bedsheets because I couldn't stand looking at the ones Ethan and I used to curl up in. Baby steps, but steps nonetheless. The support system. Maya, my sister, has been my rock. She showed up the night after the showdown with wine, ice cream, and a hammer in case we need to smash things. We settled for smashing an old toaster that barely worked, 10/10 therapeutic. My mom cried with me over the phone. My coworkers took me out for drinks. Even Lena, bless her soul, checked in to make sure I was okay after dropping that truth bomb. And honestly, you strangers on the internet help too. Reading your comments, knowing I'm not crazy, knowing I'm not alone, it's been a weird kind of therapy. What I learned. If there's one thing this nightmare taught me, it's this. You can do everything right. Love someone, support them, trust them, and they can still betray you. And that says everything about them and nothing about you. I used to think I couldn't survive losing both my best friend and my partner at the same time. But here I am, breathing, living, healing. And if you're reading this while going through something similar, you'll survive too. The final goodbye. So no, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know when I'll feel ready to date again, or if I'll ever fully stop missing the friendship I thought I had. But I do know this. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who smile to my face while stabbing me in the back. And that, weirdly enough, feels like peace. The end.